Dr. Charleston Bell. You know that thing that happens when you're so in your head because there's a deadline coming up, there's a big interview, and nothing else matters. It's all about this rejection or this thank you for applying, but there were too many people applying whatsoever. And you just feel all the weight go straight up into your head. Like, it's just this weight that's sitting behind your eyes and you don't even feel it because you're just thinking about that deadline. And then you kind of just live with it. You just carry that without noticing that you are carrying that weight. And then somebody says one thing, just one thing, and you feel it come back down. The weight spreads through your chest, your legs, all the way to your feet, and you're back in your body again. That keeps happening to me for some reason, and I keep forgetting it. Like, I'll be in the middle of building something, of writing something, and I really want to be coming from this really grounded place where I can just think about helping people and doing something that I'm passionate about and trust that the rest will follow. But it's really hard. And a lot of times I just try to kind of will myself into that mode of being, but I feel pulled back. Like, the weight just keeps going back to my head, and it's this anxiousness of needing to achieve something. You know, the one who needs to make a mark in this world, who needs to prove through achievement that you matter. And I feel bad about it because I know I could do better, I could be calmer, or I think I do. And you know, that kind of feeling is what happened to me in this conversation. Dr. Bell is a research professor of biomedical engineering at Vanderbilt. He's the director of the National Science Foundation Mid-South I-Corps Hub, and he first taught me about customer discovery at a conference years ago. Honestly, it's one of the most important things I've learned about building a startup. But this was the first time I asked him about the harder stuff, and he said something that just kind of yanked me back into my body in a way where I'm not stuck in my head anymore. And here's the conversation.
But I just did a lot of talking.
So how did you get into what you do?
Oh, so, I mean, if you're trying to go all the way back, which part? Like the biomedical engineering part or because, how did I get into I-Corps? Like, which part?
I guess, like, the theme that ties what you do together seems to be, like, bringing innovation into the world.
Yes. So, well, when I was an undergrad, I knew I wanted to do something, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in my life, right? I knew I wanted to do something in engineering, I wanted to design stuff. I wanted to, like, create infrastructure. I wanted to, like, also be, like, tied into business somehow. It's like this big, vague thing. So I had, like, no real plan. And then I decided that I would just start off by trying to become a professor. So I went to grad school, PhD at Vanderbilt. And while I was at Vanderbilt, I still had that thing in the back of my head, like, I want to be involved in something. Like, I'm doing lab experiments and stuff like that, but I want to be involved with some sort of business stuff. And then I had the opportunity in 2011 in FGH in Jacobs Believe in Me Auditorium. They had a seminar called Entrepreneuring. Fall 2011. I went there. That was the first time I heard somebody, like, lay it out and say that, oh wait, no, this is something you can do because you're an engineer, and then you can learn how to start a business and become an entrepreneur. So I was like, oh, so this is something I could do. All right, maybe that's way down the road. Fast forward like 8 months after a whole bunch of things happened. I got the opportunity to start a company with venture capital money. And I was the first graduate student to get venture capital to start a company in Vanderbilt history, like, while in school. So that's when the whole, like, business part started taking off. So I had to, like, build a laboratory. I had to start a company. I went through accelerators. I started doing that sort of training. And then after that, I moved to Memphis. And then all that stuff happened in Memphis. And then I went to Silicon Valley. So I lived in San Francisco for almost a year. And when I was out in San Francisco, I remember thinking that, oh my gosh, this is an innovation ecosystem. Like, this is the innovation ecosystem. Like, everybody's talking about Silicon Valley. And it was amazing. And I remember thinking, like, why can't I bring that back home? Why can't I have this, like, in Nashville or, like, in the South, in the Mid-South? Why can't I have that? So a bunch of other stuff happened. I wound up back here at Vanderbilt. I joined the faculty. And by that time, I was, like, burnout on entrepreneurship because of the San Francisco thing. That was the whole entrepreneurship thing was serious. So I remember I was sitting right out there in the atrium at ESB, and the first director of the Wondery walked up to me, and he was like, "Hey, you're Charleston Bell," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, you have a company. You do company stuff." I'm like, "Yes, I do." But I was kind of down and out then, so I didn't really want to talk about it. And he was like, "Well, wow, we have this program called I-Corps. You should check it out." And I was like, I don't want to do another accelerator. I don't want to do another program. So I'm like, look, man, I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me. And then he said, it comes with a stipend. And I was like, oh, all right, let me go ahead and take your card, right? So I took his card. And that's how I first got introduced to I-Corps. That's how I first got introduced to the Wondery. This was in 2018 or something like that, 2018. While ago, and to help other people, because she's an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. We went through tough challenges. We have this program that we know helps people from the beginning, from making mistakes, and so that's why we're in on this. And it just so happened that it was having a positive effect on a lot of people, and NSF noticed that. That's when they released the I-Corps hubs, and then I wrote the I-Corps Hub proposal, co-wrote it with a lot of people. I was the principal. And then it got funded. So now I am I-Corps Hub director. And now we're creating that thing that I wanted when I was in Silicon Valley. So I'll be honest. Dina asked me in like 2019, she was like, yo, is this something you want to do? Like, do you want to train to become a national I-Corps instructor? Do you want to like lead I-Corps programs and do stuff like that? Like if I leave, do you want to take this over and stuff like that? And I was like, nope, I don't want to teach I-Corps. I don't want to do nationals. I just want to start my other company and I want to take off. I want to do any of this. And then lo and behold, here we are. So you never know what path you're going to be on. But this is like super fulfilling because remember when I was in San Francisco and I was struggling, I was still witnessing what a innovation ecosystem was. And I was like, yo, I remember getting there for the first time. I was standing on the Embarcadero and I was looking at the bay, and on the right, I could see like the Bay Bridge, and I could look left and I could see Alcatraz. And then if you like lean really hard around the corner, you can get a glimpse of like the Golden Gate Bridge. And so I was just, mesmerized by that, and I had this feeling wash over me that said, oh my gosh, here anything is possible. Why? Multiple reasons. There's a ton of capital out there, but number two, you never know who you're going to run into. The people that are CEOs or that are startup founders or that are investors, angel investors, VCs, there are so many people out there that you can have a creative collision at any moment.
I'm really curious. So you mentioned when you just arrived at San Francisco, like there's that feeling of everything's very new, and I'm curious, like how long does that? Like you mentioned afterwards, you felt burnt out. So like, how was that journey like?
So when you first get there, this is the thought that you have. You have the thought that says anything is possible. And also, side note, that's kind of when they were building the Wondery. I was on a panel, and that's what I wanted this place to feel like, the Wondery. Like, you walk through the door, and you look around, and you're like, wait, I can do anything in here. That's purposeful. I still feel that way. When I went to Silicon Valley, when I was in San Francisco this summer, I still feel that way. You don't stop feeling that way. What happens is, what happened to me was that I felt like I was going through every avenue possible to get my businesses off the ground. And it was just, I'm hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And that is, you can continue to do that as long as you can sustain yourself and your basic needs. And so I was at the point where I was having trouble sustaining my basic needs: food, shelter, like I was like teeter-tottering between like living out my car, or like teeter-tottering between, I was like very strategic about when I would eat, just so I had like, I knew I had money to get to the end of the week or something like that. So it's, my situation is probably vastly different from other people's situation out there, because they may not be having challenges meeting basic needs at the same time as they're trying to grow a company and do all that sort of stuff. That can be challenging. So that's where my burnt out came from, because not only was entrepreneurship by itself is hard, but then when you couple on the fact that you're trying to like sustain like life, like basically you're trying to sustain your life, then it starts wearing you down. That's when you start getting worn down, and burnt out. And so of course when I was out there, I made lots of mistakes. I should have done some deals when I had the opportunity to get them. I should have gone certain places. That's one thing I wish I would have done more, instead of, sometimes I would be just depressed and sitting in the house. Instead of doing that, I should have just somehow tried to fight that and just get out there and just meet as many people as possible. Like even just, and this is why I'm so adamant on I-Corps, where I tell people when it's time to do customer discovery, just walk up. Like if you go to a trade show, people are there to meet other people. Walk up to them and say, hey, what's your name? Or hey, where are you from? That's all you got to do. And it's a whole conversation. You can figure out who they are, whatever. And it might be something. Just talk to people. I wish I had that in me more when I was out there, because I was probably in my days of like depression, I was probably like walking past people that could have been that creative collision I needed to take the next step. But because I was in my head so much and sad about my situation, that I had brought into myself. Basically, you can't be mad at anybody but yourself. So I was sad about my situation that I brought into myself. I wasn't talking to people. And so, but that's where the burnt out thing came from. You get burnt out from entrepreneurship. Just in entrepreneurship itself, you doing everything to get the company launched and all that sort of stuff. You meet investors, you're meeting potential partners, you're trying to recruit team, you're trying to work on a product, like you're doing all that. But then at the same time, like your eye is on your bank account, and it's like, you're like, yo, where am I going to eat? And so when you're thinking about like, where am I going to eat, and am I going to be able to pay rent next month? That starts taking up headspace that you can't devote to your company, and now your company is going down the tubes because you can't focus on that, and you start making really desperate decisions, which hurts the long-term outcomes of your company. And when you're desperate like that, people can sense that. So if I'm sitting here and I'm an investor and you're in the room and I'm getting energy from you that you're desperate for me, I'm not trying to, like, it's like a human thing. I don't know, humans are like that. I'm getting that sense that you're desperate for me. It's like, I need to find somebody else that got their stuff together. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the feeling of the burnt out came from. But I could go fly there, right? Get on a plane right now and get off the plane and look around and be like, oh yeah, it's time to get to work. We can do something. Mm-hmm. And that's the feeling that I want to have here. I want people to show up, and I want them to like meet. It's a different scenario because this is a kind of different geography in a different place. But I want them to walk in here. I want them to meet people that are working here, and I want people to leave and say, oh my gosh, this idea that I have, like, it could be something. And even if it's not, I could find a way to make something. So, yeah.
I'm curious, what was that switch like from like not talking to anyone to helping other people?
Oh, you asking the real questions now. It was really hard. So, I like went through like maybe 6 weeks of like not being able to get out of bed. It was bad. Like, it was really bad. And I had, the one thing that was kind of keeping me locked in was, no, I was not locked in. Whatever the opposite of locked in is, that's the only thing that was keeping me like upright was the fact that I had a gym routine, and no matter what, if it's 4:30, I don't care what's happening, I'm going to the gym. Like, doesn't matter. because that's the only thing that would keep me kind of moving forward. And that was in San Francisco, when sometimes I just could not do anything because I was just so down and out. But at 4:30, get on the Muni, take the Muni downtown, walk the mile and a half or the mile or so to the gym. Same thing when I was here. So when I was here, I went through another period, and I was like, nothing was working. And so it was like, man, like 4 to 6 weeks, I just could not get up. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I was just, I don't know. I couldn't move. I'm sure some people out there can identify with that feeling. And then one day I was laying there, and I had the realization, it's going to sound kind of silly, but I had the realization that said, hey, bro, you're just lying here. And I'm talking to myself, like inside. Like, yeah, dude, I'm tired. I'm tired and I can't move. And I remember also thinking, like, dude, like, you could be doing something. And my thought process was, I tried to do something, bro. I've been working on this I've been working on these things like 5 years. Like, what am I doing? How long was it? Probably like 4 years, maybe. What am I doing? And so then I had the realization that said, why was I doing all that? And I realized that, I was trying to help people and stuff like that, but the greater percentage of it was me. Like, I wanted to accomplish something. I wanted to do this. I wanted to like be the one to blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of I in there. There's a lot of ego in there. And so I'm like, yo, where did all that ego and I lead you to? Here laying in the bed by yourself. So it's like, then it's like, well, what else could I be doing? Like, it's like, well, you've been through a lot. You've had a lot of pain. I'm sure there's other people that might be able to like learn from what you did wrong. There might be some people out there that might be able to get some advice from you. You have value, dude. You can be valuable. You can create value by helping other people. So instead of being so focused on your own self and what you're trying to do, maybe you should be focused on trying to help other people. And that day was the day I got up, because I was like, okay, that is the new why now. I'm not here trying to make $1 billion. I'm not here trying to like become king of whatever. I'm not trying to like have this $1 billion company and look on each other. I'm trying to, I'm trying to now shift my focus into, my strategic focus now is to use my talents and skills to help other people. In fact, it would be even better if I could do two things. If I could help other people and then help other people help other people. So then I said, okay, what am I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? What am I going to do about this? And I said, I know what I'll do. Let me just go back to campus. I don't have a plan, but maybe I can go like write grants or something. I'm good at that. Maybe I can help some people doing that. So I just came back to campus and I hung out. I talked to my old professor and I was like, look, man, I'm just trying to help. I don't have a plan. I don't have any plan. I have nothing, but I do know I'm good at writing grants. Like, we got all that funding. I can write grants. I know how to start a company. I know how to talk about companies. I know how to do all that stuff. So maybe I can write grants and we can get money. And so he was like, all right, I'll give you a shot. You get 1 year. I'll give you 1 year. I'm not paying you. You're not getting paid, but you'll get a title so you can write grants. I said, okay. So started writing the grants. And I remember I told myself I have to, because I had to create a new structure. So I had to leave home for at least a couple hours a day. And so in the afternoon, I got out of bed and I would come right out here. I would sit there and I would do some work to get out of the bed and then go to the gym. So I'm doing some work, and that's when the director saw me. And here we are. So that was the mindset change. It was literally, it was like for years I was very ego driven. Not ego driven like narcissist, crazy person, ego driven, but like really like me wanting to I'm gonna do this and whatnot. But then now you hit rock bottom a couple times, it'll make you realize some things. And so it took me like 4 to 6 weeks of just rock bottom, and then one day I'm just like, look, I was like, yo, what are you doing? We just laying here. I remember thinking that. I was like, what are we doing? It's like, yo, I'm laying here. It's like, bro, why? I'm tired. It's like, bro, you've been laying here. What are we gonna do? You gotta do something. So, and that's when the mindset changed. And I had another similar mindset change like that. After I started my first company, I was like 6 months in. My co-founder left. I remember the company was in Memphis, but I was back here because I was living in both places, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I woke up and I looked in the mirror, and that's when I had my first mindset shift. When I realized I'm not working for like a company where you get a paycheck every month. No, you look at the bank account and you're not making money in your company. It's just going down because it's just paying you. It's just money just going down. And so I realized if anything is going to happen with this company, you're going to be the one that has to do it. And that moment is when I became an entrepreneur. Like, sure, I got venture capital and all that, and I was doing all that stuff, but my mindset was still in I go to work and I do this, and yeah, I can work all night on this, but I did not have the mindset knowing that entrepreneurship is you got to do it. But then I kind of lost my way. Like I said, I started, you start hanging out with investors a lot, and they start talking to you about the return on investment and this like that, and you can do this, you can do that. And my head started getting blown up. And if your head gets too big, it gets popped. So, so that's what happened.
Huh. What do you feel like should have been a healthier mindset compared to like the investor mindset?
This is what I tell people. So you need to understand how to talk to people. So if I'm talking to an investor, I'm speaking their language. Mm-hmm. The stuff that we teach about, you need to empathize and know your audience, do that. So if I'm talking to an investor, I'm talking about ROI, I'm talking about finances, I'm talking about getting them their money back and some. That's what I'm talking about. If I'm talking to myself, I'm talking about why am I doing this? What is my reasoning? And usually now, my reasoning is based on trying to help someone or trying to solve someone's problem or trying to resolve somebody's needs. That's what I'm on. So that remains my strategic focus, and then I wrap that focus around a financially sustainable business model.
So what would you wish you knew when you just arrived to San Francisco, like mindset-wise?
Can you say that one more time?
Like, what would you wish you would have, like, known when you just arrived to San Francisco, like, about the dream of entrepreneurship, like, to prevent the rock bottom? Or do you feel like it's, like, inevitable?
Knowing what I know now, I would have been hyper-focused on trying to meet as many customers and stakeholders in my ecosystem as possible. Every day. So, some part of the day you got to send emails, you got to meet people, you got to work on your pitch deck, you got to do stuff like that. If I wasn't doing that, I'm out somewhere. I'm somewhere talking to somebody, talking to people. Mm-hmm. And not trying to selectively talk to people. Some people try to selectively talk to people, like, it's like, I need to meet this VC, or I need to. That's fine. But you need to meet all the stakeholders in your ecosystem. You need to talk to them. You need to understand where they're coming from, what their problems are, what the challenges are, what their workflow is every day. And then where you fit in that ecosystem. You got to talk to people. You can't. I did come in there kind of high and mighty. I was on a high horse when I came in there because, I knew the technology that I had was unique. I knew that I knew I had a set of skills too, and how I could like in talking about the product, and being understanding the science, being able to talk about the science, and being charismatic. So I was on my high horse. I came in there on my high horse, probably a little too high. But it's really that. It's trying to meet as many people as possible. Like, and a lot of people don't want to, they're only going there to form relationships with like the VCs and the angels. Like, no. You need to form relationships with the entrepreneurs. You need to find them, talk to them, understand their pain points, what they're going through, like have them show you the way. And what happens is, as you're hanging out with them and you're building your business, then they're looking at you and they're like, oh, you're legit. I want to introduce you to my investor. And an introduction from another, an introduction to an investor from an entrepreneur that an investor has already invested in, gold. So you gotta meet people. You really do. You really need to understand your customer, meet your customers, as many customers as possible. Because that is ultimately the driver of your business. Everyone always thinks it's like, oh, my technology, oh, my product, blah, blah, blah. Nah, you can have the greatest product in the world. If you don't have any customers, you have nothing. But spent money on nothing. Well, you spent money on something, but now you ain't got the money anymore. You gotta have customers. And people are like, oh, I'm gonna build this perfect product and I'm gonna sell it to them. Like, no. You need to go talk to the customers before you build anything. Understand what they're going through, what their pain points are, what their challenges are, what they're currently doing. So you know, as soon as you start building the basic prototype, you know that it's going to be valuable. Man, I wasted money on just ridiculous, frivolous things, thinking that was going to move the needle or something like that. No, taking like really bad advice. I got really bad advice too from some folks. No. And I would have known that was bad advice if I had to talk to more people. What you think? So anyway,
I guess that's a wrap-up question. I'm really curious, like, how or what's the process like to gain that much self-awareness versus understanding the world. I don't know if this makes sense, because I feel like when people are really like outward looking, like and like working on things very actively, it's like I don't know.
You can distract yourself by getting work done and doing all these external things, but there will come a time where you must face yourself. There will come a time where you must face yourself. And it's in that moment where you make decisions that's going to drive the rest of like the direction of your life. So there are some people who face themselves on purpose. So they'll like meditate, they'll journal, they'll like really try to parse through they'll set aside time every day to parse through their thoughts and things like that. I wasn't intentional about that for the longest period of time. So instead of me sitting myself down, my circumstances sat me down, right? So there will be times where you're just forced to be introspective, to really think. It usually comes during times of failure. It comes during times of abandonment. It comes during times of when you had a hope or you had a dream and you're realizing that's dashed and you're just left with yourself. And so you gotta just, then you have a decision to make. You can realize that you're at the bottom, this is trash. And then you can say, okay, you can do one or two things. You can stay down there. Well, you can do three things. Well, kind of. You could do nothing and stay down there, but that just leads to your demise. You could become even more self-centered and start hurting people. Or you can realize that you, as a person, have the tools to help others. Everyone does. It just depends on if you're willing to make the decision to do that. Like, I always see those things as training. I'm gonna be honest with you. In San Francisco, I was not seeing that as training. That was terrible, right? It was traumatic. It was the whole thing wasn't traumatic. It was like this is gonna be real nerdy. It was like a high amplitude sine wave. You know what I'm saying? Like a really high amplitude sine wave. It was like that. A really high amplitude, high frequency sine wave. All right, that's what it was. And it was crazy. Like, in the day, I would go from triumph to heartbreak in this, like, within hours, and it was like on repeat. Or I'd be feeling like really good about something, and I would get home and I'm like, oh, I'm out of food. Like, it was like that. But then, you know, over time, you're like, well, I'm going through this this is what I believe. I'm going through this for some reason, and I'm going to look at it like this. This is training me for something, preparing me for something, or this is an opportunity for me to improve. I always look at it for an opportunity to improve. So then after I had the realization I want to, like, help other people, then when bad things happen or things that I didn't plan for happen, I sit there and I sit there and I'm like, yo, this is trash, and I feel bad about it. But then I try to really use the same energy I did to get out of bed. I use that same energy, and I'm like, what is the positive I can draw from this to go to the next step? What is the learning I can draw from this to go to the next step? Is there something there? And sometimes there's no immediate answer. So you just keep pushing forward, and then all of a sudden the answer reveals itself in something else. Always happens. Every time. So that would be my advice. Or I don't remember the question, but that would be my comment, I guess. Some people set aside time for introspection, and then some people will not do that, and something will happen in their life where they get set down. And then you have a decision to make. You can either go deeper, you can react negatively, or you can look for the positive outcome and look for it as an opportunity with training. There's a meme on the internet that always talks about something bad happening to you, and this is like character development or something like that. But that's literally life. There's a reason why narrative books and stuff like that have character development, because it's a mirror of real life. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going through. It's literally character development. So if you look at it in a positive lens, well, first you have to, like, deal with the pain of what's happening to you. So sit in that. Don't run from it. Don't go and do things to try to mask it. Then you're just going to go deeper and it's going to get worse. Nope. Feel the pain. Feel the emotions. Sit with it. And then once those start to subside a little bit.
So Dr. Bell said something I really haven't stopped thinking about. That moment where everything fell apart and you feel like you couldn't stand on your 2 feet on the ground anymore. And how it wasn't really like a light switch, but more like a sequence of being. Because he mentioned about having to go through a period of ego first, and a feeling like he really needs to make this mark, and that was only afterwards that he got to be in this deeper place, where the question stopped being, what do I want to achieve, and became, who can I help? And I think that's the part I keep wanting to skip over. I want to just jump straight to the groundedness, but perhaps that striving and anxiety, maybe that's not the thing that demands speed to skip over. Perhaps it is all a part of the experience, and it's just where I am in the sequence right now, and there's no hurry. And perhaps two can coexist at the same time.